And welcome to the Board of County Commission zoning hearing on Thursday, April 25, 2024. We are starting at 9:30. If I could have the clerk do the roll call, please.
Commissioner Barnett.
Here.
Commissioner Baxter.
Here.
Commissioner Bernard.
Here.
Vice Mayor Marino.
Here.
Mayor Sachs.
Here.
Commissioner Weiss.
Here.
Commissioner Woodward.
Here.
Thank you.
We have a quorum. Very good. We're going to proceed. And if I could have Commissioner Baxter do the opening prayer, and we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, before we begin our business at hand, let us give voice to our sincere gratitude to the divine for allowing us to reach this day with the abundant blessing that our great community has been bestowed. Let us pray that with sacred guidance from the Almighty for our decision making, we may continue to work for the betterment of all. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Maria. Good morning. All right, we're going to start. Do we have notice? Very good. We have notice. And we have proof of publication?
Yes, we do.
Very good. I'd like to receive and file a motion to receive and file the proof of publication. I have
So
a
moved.
first from Commissioner Baxter, second from Commissioner Woodward. All those for, anybody opposed, see that it passes unanimously. And now if we could have the swearing in of all those who will testify today. Mr. Attorney.
All those wishing to testify or speak on today's quasi-judicial items, please rise and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, we have a few amendments. Starting on the consent agenda, item number 2, DOA 2023-1160, Costco at Boca Raton. We have an amendment to Exhibit C1 to eliminate site design condition 1. This condition was already deleted in the prior reso. Item number 3, ABN ZCA 2023-657, Eternal Gospel Church. This is just a clarification and correction on the request, as well as in Exhibit C2, that the acreage is 2.44 acres. Item number 4, DOA 2023-01450, Heritage Park. We're amending Exhibit C, specifically all petition 2, to eliminate extra verbiage. On the regular agenda, item number 7, for a privately proposed amendment for the commercial pod, the motion is to adopt an ordinance approving that item. Item number 8, PDD 2022-1134, Lake Haven, eliminating some extra verbiage that shouldn't be there. On item number 9, ABN DOA CA 2023-1491, Polo Gardens. This is also a correction on the agenda in the staff report reference to the acreage for the abandonment as 25.04 acres. We have also received from the applicant an email that we put on the dais and passed out to everyone from the Lake Worth Road Coalition to be part of the record for number 9. And then if there are no cards on number 9, the applicant requested that it be on the first item on the regular agenda before item 6.
Very good. Did everybody get all those? And did everybody get the letter that should be on our desks this morning from the Lake Worth Road Coalition, Inc.? Very good. If I could have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. I see
So moved.
Commissioner Weiss and second by Commissioner Woodward. All right, let's, before we get on to our consent agenda, I think that today was bring your little one, could be boy or girl or pet, to work. And if we have any little ones here today, I wonder if mom or dad could stand and introduce your little one. You just take a minute to do that. We'll start over here on the right side. Okay? State your name if you're a parent and tell us who you brought.
have a mic?
Hi, my name is Kayla. I am with Commissioner Barnett's office. This is Janessa West, and this is Alina West.
She prefers to, I understand, it's early in the morning still. Thank you for coming. All right, going down the rows.
I'm Marcella Millett with Strategic Planning and Performance Management, OFMP. This is my daughter, Liliana Millett, in 8th grade, ready to start high school.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for coming. All right, next row, starting with the left. I can't hear you, sir. Nice to meet you. What's your mom's? Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank
I'm
you.
Monique Williams. This is my granddaughter, Zara Giles. She's a first grader at Palm Beach Gardens Elementary. I'm in OFMB also.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing your children.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Jasmine with OMD also. This is Mia, she's 3rd grade at Acres Pines. And Ava, she's 8th grade at Western
Very,
Pines.
very good. Thank you all for coming. Anybody in the center? And here we have right over here. Go right ahead, state your name.
Nancy Fontana for the organization, and this is Giancy.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, then we will go ahead and proceed.
Excuse me, Mayor, may I be recognized?
Yes, sir.
Could we have the vote called for the adoption of the agenda?
Yes. It was unanimous. Would you like me to do it again so you get the first and the second?
Yes, please, thank you.
Sure. Go right ahead. I'll do that. If I could have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. I had Commissioner Weiss was the first, and the second was Commissioner Woodward. All those for, anybody opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's go right on to the consent agenda as amended, and we're going to, is that on the consent? Okay. What number is it on the, number 5? Shall we do 1 first? And do 5 when we get to 5?
They're all together.
Okay, let's do the cards first. Thank you, Commissioner Weiss. And then I'll ask everybody if anybody wants to pull anything from the consent agenda. So Commissioner Weiss is going to read 2 cards.
We have Alexandria Larson. Says Alex, but I know better now.
It took a while to get here today. The traffic's so lovely. I'm not yelling, commissioners, I swear. But it was. I left an hour and a half prior to coming. But anyway, the only thing I'm worried about, our whole agenda, what's really funny, when you pull it up on the computer, it says 1 in 382 pages. So the whole entire thing just keeps scrolling. You don't click on one agenda item anymore and have it appear magically. And what we're saying, we're doing TDRs, transfers of development rights, because it's really funny. Nobody knows the acronyms. When I have people call me about stuff, and they'll say, well, what's a TDR? What is an MPUD? All kinds of stuff. And here the guy is allowed to ask for up to 5 TDRs, but he's really gracious. He's only asking for 4. And we keep upping and upping and upping. The one thing that was throughout the whole agenda, it says it works with the comp plan. It works with FLUE. It works with everything. You know what I mean? Everything works. And when you read the original comp plan, commissioners, it doesn't work. And we are in the second part of the agenda. We're changing something to make it work in the first part of the agenda. So hopefully, maybe we could take a step back and take a breath in building in this county. A breath, just a breath. That's what I'm here for. I'm asking for a breath from everybody, and I know I got 3 minutes, and I'm not trying to waste your time, but we need a break. Your constituents are really upset, but they're afraid to come downtown. They think you're going to bite them. I told them you don't bite. You're not actually that bad. You're cranky maybe, but not bitey. But we've got a real problem with development and wanting more and more and more. And that's throughout the agenda, and I'm going to have a couple more cards in because there's stuff out in my world that's happening and I do care about, but hopefully no more. That's what, you need to take a little break And I'm going to ask you that every time I come up here. So thanks for your time and your energy. But whatever we're doing too much. And thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Larson.
Excuse me.
Next.
Can I get clarification on which project she was talking about? I thought you said number 5.
No, this was number 1.
Number 1. Okay, sorry.
Sorry about that if I said 5. It's on item 1. And then next is item number 5, Harry Baker.
Good morning. I live directly behind the project, item 5 at 8805 Arbor Walk in Valencia Shores. And the reason I'm here is for a couple of reasons. One, I know he wants to remove the right turn lane going in from Hypoluxo into the development. I think that's a really bad idea for a couple of reasons. One, every development has right turn lanes going in. If you go up and down Lyons Road, you go along Hypoluxo, all these developments have right turn lanes. And the reason they do it is to pull the traffic off to make it safer so you get rid of potential rear end collisions and so forth and so on. The other part of it is if you have the right turn lane and someone's going to come out heading, let's say, north to make either a right or a left, they'll have better sight distance. And I think it's a mistake to remove it. And then further, they're building now, their entrance for their construction is on Lyons Road. And they've put in the tracking pad and all the stuff to get in and out. But the problem is, he just put a wedge in of asphalt against the curb. And now he's broken up the entire sidewalk. In fact, I showed Jennifer his planner, the pictures I took this morning. It's not built to code. It's not built correctly. I don't know if anybody's going out and inspecting what's going on. He doesn't have water trucks out there for dust. And the other question we had was, the residents want to know on Saturday, what are his allowable hours to work? During the week, I understand he's starting at 7. I totally get it. Not a problem. But he's out there at 7 o'clock on Saturdays. We didn't know if he mandated to start at 8 or whatever. We'd like to know. But these are safety issues that we're talking about in terms of the sidewalk, in terms of traffic for people going in and out of his development on Hypoluxo. And we hope you would consider this and make him put in the lane. I know there's issues with utilities and there's issues with utility poles and so forth and so on. But he put it on the plan to start with. It was his plan to build it. Make him do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
That's it.
Okay. Does anybody wish to pull anything from the items from consent? Okay, Commissioner Baxter and then Commissioner Bernard.
Did you want to go first?
No, Madam Mayor, I just want to make sure we do disclosures.
Okay. In my agenda, I have the disclosures to be after the request to pull items. But if you would like to do the disclosures first, we'll go ahead and proceed with disclosures on the items on the consent agenda. And why don't we start with Commissioner Baxter?
On item number 5, I believe is the one that was referenced. So we're going to do all of the consent, or do you want to just do a single item?
Why don't we do all of them on the consent agenda at this time?
So my disclosures would be for item number 4, I have a written email which has been filed with the clerk, no verbal and no site visit. I have, for item number 5, I have received emails which have been filed with the clerk. Verbal, I have met with Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, Alex Axel. Site visit, I have held a town hall at the Bellagio nearby to discuss traffic issues and no direct site visit.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. For item 4, no verbal communication, received email, and no site visit. And for item number 5, I've had verbal communications with Jennifer Morton, Alex Akel, and Lauren McClellan, received correspondence and no site visit. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. On item number 4, I received email correspondence, and on item number 5, I had verbal communications with Jennifer Morton and Lauren McClellan and received email correspondence, which has been filed with the clerk.
Very good. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you. No disclosures on items 1, 2, and 3. On item 4, I have email correspondence And on item 5, I had verbal communication with Jennifer Morton and Lauren McClellan and email correspondence.
Very good. Commissioner Barnett.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 1, no disclosures. Item 2, no disclosures. Item 3, no disclosures. Item 4, verbal communications with Bradley Miller. I've received correspondence filed with the clerk. No site visit. Item number 5, I've had verbal communications with Jennifer Morton, Alex Akel, Ramsey Akel, Lauren McClellan. Received correspondence filed with the clerk. No site visit.
Very good, thank you. And Vice Mayor Marino.
Good morning, thank you. I have, on item number 4, I received emails from Bradley Miller. And item number 5, I met with Lauren McClellan, and I received emails from the residents and the applicant, and all of the emails have been filed with the clerk, and I have no other disclosures.
Very good. And from the mayor's office, on the consent agenda, item number 4, verbal communications and meetings with Bradley Miller, and you've received and filed the emails. Item number 5, verbal communications, meetings with Jennifer Morton and Lauren McClellan, and I have received and filed the emails. All right. With that, does anybody wish to pull any items from the consent agenda at this time? Yes, Commissioner Baxter.
I do not want to pull anything from consent, Mayor, but I would like to address a comment.
Sure. Very good. Go right ahead.
To the gentleman. So after our discussions, and it sounds like everyone has met with, according to the disclosures, the same people at this project. To be clear, for the turn lane is only, with staff, I'm asking, this project is on that entrance is only for residents of that neighborhood and is not the main entrance?
Good morning, Scott Cantor, Director of Land Development. That is correct. That was a resident-only entrance on Hypoluxo that they're seeking to delete the condition for the turn lane.
And then it was also stated, and I'm just verifying at this point, that there were some serious underground issues that were going to need to be addressed for a turn lane to exist there?
Yeah, where the location of the proposed turn lane, there is a water main, and I believe there was also a force main sanitary that would had to have been relocated due to the depth. They weren't deep enough. So that was, from what I understand, some of the reasoning behind the developer not wishing to construct the turn lane.
So, and the reason I'm comfortable leaving this on consent is because I believe after discussing with them, if it was something simple and it wouldn't potentially cause any interruption to the surrounding neighborhoods, they were more than willing to put it in. It wasn't until they came across this large problem that this even came up, which is why it wasn't part of the original application. So I want to thank them for allowing us to understand that, but also realizing that that would be a huge inconvenience, I think, for a lot of people for something that might not be necessary if it's not the main entrance in and out. So thank you, everyone. I just wanted to let everyone know what was going on.
Good, thank you, Commissioner. I have one question. Is there any reason why a private contractor needs to work at 7 a.m. on a weekend? And I wonder if we could make a request that unless it's an emergency or some issue that needs immediate attention, maybe they could work during the week.
Yeah.
Sir.
We usually,
Well, the hours of construction would be.
Construction machinery is not allowed to be used between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m.
5 days a week or 7?
5.
5, very good. Got that clarified. Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Baxter. Thank you, staff. Now I think we're ready to vote on the items on the consent. I have a first from Commissioner Woodward and a second from Commissioner Baxter. All those for. Anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously. Moving right on to a regular agenda. And I think we are ready to hear from staff.
Yes, and we asked under amendments to the agenda if the Polo Gardens item number 9 could be moved ahead of the Lake Haven bundle. So if that's okay with the board, if we can present that item right now.
I don't see any objection to that by anybody. All right, so let's go ahead and proceed with item number 9, Polo Gardens MUPD, and we'll put that in the front.
I was seeing if there's any
Good
cards
morning.
for, good morning, my name's Lauren McClellan. I was seeing if there's any cards for this item. Okay, looks like there is.
There may or may not be, but we'll hear from you first.
She said there's one.
Okay.
So I'm Lauren McClellan with J. Morton Planning and Landscape Architecture. Okay, thanks. I have a full presentation prepared. If you'd like to hear the full presentation, otherwise, staff is recommending approval. Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval.
I'm going to interrupt you for just 1 minute.
Yeah.
While I recognize the Vice Mayor.
Okay.
I believe that all of us have heard your presentation.
Yes. Yes,
And if
ma'am.
you want to just do a 1 or 2 minute presentation, I think that would be
I can do
fabulous.
that.
But
I can do
if
that.
that's okay with the rest of the board.
Yep, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So just
the pictures.
Yeah, just so we know what the requests are, if you can go back, sorry. Thank you. So the request before the board is a development order amendment to the Polo Gardens, MUPD, a development order abandonment of a hospital, and a Class A conditional use for a restaurant with drive-through. The property is located at the southeast corner of Polo Club Road and Lake Worth Road. If you can scroll, thank you. The existing land use and zoning is MLU with an HR8 and a commercial high, and then the zoning is MUPD. If you can go 2 more. Thank you. And then 1 more. Thank you. So this is the site plan. The only change to the site plan, the residential is constructed. For the most part, it's, I think, about halfway occupied. The northwest corner of the project is the only change that's occurring. It is changing from a hospital use, which was approved approximately a year ago, and it is going to a retail and restaurant building. Ironically, this was what was first approved in 2019, but on the east parcel. Every time that, so when the project first came in and we did a DOA in 2019, it was a reduction in traffic. Last year we came in and it was a reduction in traffic, and this application here is also a further reduction in traffic. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm also happy to come up after public comment if needed.
You mean after the card is read?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant at this time? All right, thank you very much. Do we need any other information on this particular item? And we do have a card. We also have disclosures. So I think we can, let's do the disclosures right now, shall we, for this item? So, and again, let me repeat, this is item number 9 on the regular agenda, and we're going to start this time with Commissioner Barnett, just to keep everybody awake. Go ahead,
Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner.
Thank you. Item number 9, I have had verbal communications with Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, Jeff Williams. We've received correspondence filed with the clerk, no site visit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. I had verbal communication with Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, and Jeff Williams, and email correspondence.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. On item number 9, I had verbal communication with Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, Jeff Williams. I received email correspondence and filed with the clerk.
Very good. And Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. On item number 9, I've had verbal communications with Lauren McClellan, Jennifer Morton, and received correspondence and no site visits. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
And Commissioner Baxter.
Thank you, Mayor. I've received, for item number 9, I've received emails which have been filed with the clerk, and for verbal communications, I've met with Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, and Jeff Williams, and no site visit.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Good morning. I met with Lauren McClellan and Jeff Williams, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And from the mayor's office, item number 9, verbal communications and meetings with Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, Jeff Williams, and I have received and filed the emails. Very good. The disclosures have been completed. Now we have 1 card.
Alexandria Larson.
Once again, I'm up late at night, Commissioners, laughing to myself, so if anybody looked in the window, they'd see a crazy woman laughing at stuff that's on the agenda. This one's funny because we went from a hospital to a restaurant. And people, they do want the restaurant, because it was pick your poison. When I spoke to the people and people called me about stuff, it's pick your poison. It's like when you're electing someone, you hold your nose while you're doing your ballot. Because DOA, dead on arrival, that's what it should be. Just my acronyms, commissioners. And I was, since October, I have been looking for the level of service on the roads, 4 particular roads in Palm Beach County. I'm finally getting somewhere on that request, because in one of the backups, I was so glad it said level of service D. One of the items were covered, and it said in that particular 7 inches, the service on the roads is level of service D. So I got an idea what's going on Lake Worth Road. Haven't got North Lake, Okeechobee, and Boynton just yet, but I'm working on it. Because we have really bad traffic problems. We do need the right-hand turn lanes. We do need a lot of stuff, because there's something that we're going to be speaking on in one of the agenda items where they're going to be going through residential roads to accommodate 100 houses that were never planned. And this is what we're doing here in the zoning commission, zoning you guys, when we go to the different meetings, and it's like, pick your poison. Because when you talk to the people down there, they'd like to keep the trees, because then they won't hear the turnpike, because every time we clear out a lot of trees, the noise level becomes a little bit louder when you're sitting on somebody's patio back there. So you're putting in a restaurant now. I don't know which is better, a hospital or a restaurant. I really don't, but it's pick your poison. And this is one of those items that we changed our mind midstream, and we continuously do this with zoning, planning, everywhere in our county. So thank you for at least looking at it and speaking about it.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Larson. If there are no other cards, anybody have any comments from the board? All right, we're going to proceed to a vote at this time. All those, do I have a first? Yes, I do.
Yes.
Commissioner Baxter, and the second is from Commissioner Weiss. All those for. Anybody opposed? See none. See that it passes unanimously. Very good. Now, we're going to move on back to the regular agenda to item 6, Lake Haven. Is this connected as companions to 7 and 8?
Yes, 6, 7, and 8 all go together. There's a future land use amendment, a privately initiated rezoning, and then the privately initiated ULDC amendment, and then number 8 is the zoning application. We only need disclosures on number 8, but it's your call if you'd like to do them now before we go to the presentations, or if you'd like to wait.
Very good. Mr. Attorney, do we need a vote on each one individually, or we can take, I think we need a vote on each one individually, is that correct?
Yeah, I think that would be clearest. And I would also recommend doing disclosures at the beginning in case we handle public comment all at once.
Very good, okay. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to have disclosures on 6, 7, and 8. We will take 6 first, have a vote, then 7, have a vote, and then 8, and have a vote. Would that be?
Just for number 8, but we can do that at the beginning before we begin.
For the disclosures. Yeah. That's correct. Okay. So before we proceed on staff report and votes on 6, 7, and 8, we're going to have disclosures on item number 8. And on the regular agenda, we're going to start with Commissioner Baxter.
Thank you, Mayor. For item number 8, I have received emails which have been filed with the clerk, and I have met with Cliff Hertz, Robert Smithwick, and Ken Tuma. I've also met with spoke verbal communication with Laura Danowski and Robert Shore, and no site visit.
Very good. Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. For item number 8, I've had verbal communications with Cliff Hertz, Ken Tuma, John Saspo. It says Scott Morton, but Robert Schmidtwick, and yes, I've received correspondence and no site visit. Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. On item number 8, I had verbal communication with Cliff Hertz, Ken Tuma, and Robert Smithwick. I received email correspondence, been filed with the clerk.
Okay, and now Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. I had verbal communication with Cliff Hertz, Robert Smithwick, and Ken Tuma, and email correspondence.
Excellent. And Commissioner Barnett.
I've had verbal communications with Cliff Hertz, Robert Smithwick, Ken Tuma, Tyler Woolsey, I believe possibly John Sapo. Written email correspondence, no site visit. Thank you.
Excellent. Vice Mayor Marino?
Thank you. I met with Ken Tuma, Cliff Hertz, Tyler Woolsey, and Rob Smithwick. Thank you.
Very good. And from the mayor's office, there was verbal communications and meetings with Cliff Hertz, Ken Tuma, Robert Smithwick, and John Sespo, and I've received and filed the emails. All right. With that, we're going to go ahead and proceed with a staff report.
We'll move forward with the applicant presentation
Very
and then
good.
staff.
Thank you. The applicant, come up. Mr. Tuma, you're recognized, sir.
Good morning, Ken Tuma with Urban Design Studio. There are 3 items on the agenda, as Madam Mayor indicated. Those 3 items that are on the agenda today, the first one is the adoption of a land use. This is a second hearing and adoption of the land use. It also includes modifying the overlay. The second item is an adoption of the land development regulations to allow for 2% in commercial. That again is also on adoption. And the third item in front of you will be the actual PUD for the subject site. So kind of moving forward, I didn't swear and introduce myself, did I? Good, Ken Tuma with Urban Design Studio. I
Were
apologize.
you sworn in, sir?
I am, yes, ma'am.
Very good.
Because
You go right
item
ahead.
8 is a quasi-judicial proceeding. Yes, ma'am. So in regards to that, this has been in the public realm since, let's say, October 1st, 2021. We've had public hearings on this. The first 2 items were unanimously approved by all of your boards, the Planning Commission, the Zoning Commission, the Board of County Commissioners on Transmittal unanimously approved this also. So I could do this in one of 3 ways. I could do the 20-minute presentation where I can walk through each item individually and articulate clearly what is happening. Item number 2, I could do it in a 1-minute presentation and show you the actual site plan, or 3, no presentation could be required. My only request would be that we would have the opportunity after public comment to come back and use the slides if necessary.
Very good. Thank you for those choices.
It's up to you, Madam Mayor. I will do whatever you want.
Do we have any public comments on these
We have
3?
one on each item.
We have one on each item. So, and you will have, if there's an issue that we all think that you should rebuttal, then we'll call you up again. So let's do this, if I may. The pleasure of the board, how about a 1-minute Reader's Digest? So 2.5. So, all right, and then.
I appreciate
at least you can say, and then after the first item, Mr. Attorney, we're going to take a vote. Then the second item, we're going to take a vote after you speak on the second item. Third item, you speak for a minute or 2, and we take a vote. Is that what you recommend, sir?
That sounds reasonable, except I heard that there are public comments.
On each one.
So if all of them are being handled together as one presentation, it might be best to hear
the public comment
on at the same time and then vote separately after.
Okay,
after that.
very good, very good. All right, so you're on for the Reader's Digest.
Thank you. I will keep it to
6.
Humor and uniform too. Okay, so in front of you is the items is the actual application process on where we got to where we are today, April 25th, 2025. Again, in front of every one of the boards, unanimous approval in front of each board that we've been to. This is a site plan or the concept master plan that is in front of you. The overall project is 446 acres. On the north side is a community called Deer Run. We have worked particularly with our client, Rob Smithwick and Coulter Homes, to have a good agreement with the residents of Deer Run. We have provided them additional buffering and landscaping, and we received a letter which was filed this morning from one of the residents, the most affected resident, a woman named Jill Hogue. It was filed, and she was very happy about the collaborative nature of our process. On the left-hand side of the project is the future Okeechobee Boulevard, adjacent to Deer Run. That's a land dedication of almost 9.9 acres. On the south side, we're proposing a total of 534 units. 400 of them are single-family homes, larger lots on those single-family homes. Then there are 54 townhomes. Those townhomes will be workforce housing, for sale workforce housing in that parcel adjacent on the south side of the single-family homes. And then we have we have a commercial parcel and a civic parcel. The civic parcel is dedication to the county. The commercial parcel is a mix of retail and office for a total of 47,000 square feet. And this is a quick cross-section of that north buffer that I spoke about with the neighbors. And with that, I am going to cut my presentation very short. 446 acres, a request for a PUD to allow to 534 houses, 47,000 square feet of retail and office, and a commercial and also a civic center site dedication and the for sale workforce housing. Thank you.
Any questions or comments by members of the board? I have one, Mr. Tuma. When we discussed this master plan, we were discussing that this is not age restricted, so there'd be young families. We also discussed that there would be a very good commitment from the developer that there would be some child care, infant care available to the residents there at this site.
So yes, ma'am. So first thing, the commercial site, one, could become a daycare in the future. They have committed to actively looking for a daycare. In regards to the clubhouse itself, yes, they will be actively programming the clubhouse.
Okay, so because, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last, so that at the, a commitment for a daycare center or infant care there in the, not necessarily in the civic site, unless you want to put something else that would be like a fire station.
Well, I think the county would like the fire station.
I think they would too. I think we would too. But certainly in the clubhouse, there would be that very strong commitment to have a place for moms or dads to have daycare, infant care for their children for the residents only. Is that a commitment from that we discussed the other day?
So what they're willing to commit to is actively programming the specific daycare use. They are struggling with that concept, but they are definitely going to actively program it and definitely have programs available for child care, but not a specific daycare. I want to be clear about that.
You're going to look into it. It was sort of 11th hour, but you will look into the possibility.
Yes, of course. Yes, and we are also actively looking for a commercial daycare on the commercial site too.
Very good, thank you. I think Vice Mayor Marino, I think you had your light on first. Go right ahead, you're recognized.
I think the answers that Mr. Tuma gave are relative, and I don't believe that we need to stronghold the developer into putting a daycare on the facility, on the property itself. I do know that they are going to work to try to get a daycare available. We don't know if a daycare is necessary. I don't want to tie their hands and say you need a daycare when, in fact, 99% of them don't have children. So I don't think it's something that we need to require. But I would like to see that you do, on the commercial property, have that as one of the possible leases. Thank you.
Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I support the Vice Mayor on this. I don't want to constrain the applicant on requiring a daycare. I think that, this is a potential to do a commercial pod in there, and we don't even know if this commercial pod will work. And so I wouldn't want to tie the applicant and, in terms of this daycare. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Baxter.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank Ken and the applicant for working with me on this. I do, as a mother, appreciate having daycares. I mean, it's so important. But also, as a business person, I understand that there's not always an availability or a need. And I leave that to the people in the business world to determine if it can be viable there. But I did appreciate that the applicant gave his word, and we'll see how that goes, of first looking at a potential daycare business to go in there before others. But again, I do agree with not tying it and making it just for daycare, but knowing that it could be very helpful for even the surrounding neighborhoods, and keeping that in mind. So I do appreciate that, absolutely. And unless, are we going to public comment, or are we waiting for a motion?
I think we have one card, but this is certainly not a condition of approval.
Understood.
And Mr. Tuma knows that, as well as the developer. This is just an idea that since we're going to have young families here, it'll also cut down on traffic to have a lot of these places right here. And this is something that is federally advocated for a lot of family centers to cut down on traffic and also as an incentive for young families to move here to our beautiful county. So thank you. We had that conversation. It's certainly not a condition of approval, and we all know that.
Understood.
It's just a nice conversation, and I appreciate your developer doing that. So at this point, we're going to take a vote, and we have a comment card. So we have 3 comment cards. Mr. Tuma, you could sit down if you want.
Ma'am, of course.
All right, go right ahead, Commissioner Weiss.
On item number 6, Alex Larson.
Something, okay, you got his little clicky thing. I don't want to hurt his little clicky thing. How you doing, Commissioners? Once again, we are at Greed Central. They were allowed 1 per 10. That's their zoning, 1 per 10. And it was with the surrounding area, you know, because Deer Run, white fences, all the people sitting there. Like, I love hearing that the future extension of Okeechobee Boulevard, because we're up here, I guess I am under oath, I'm swearing under oath that what I say is true, because I didn't know if I got sworn in or not. But we cross our fingers and say Hail Mary. That's what we're doing every time we do this stuff. Because I don't see any exit out. Put that back, Ken. I want to see the exit out of this place with 446 lots that are allowed, and we're getting 534 instead because we're doing workforce housing, supposedly. It's the most, so many misnomers every day in this county. It's unbelievable to me. And when I talk to people, I try to tell them to have faith. But even there, you know, they don't have faith anymore. This is a gross overage of houses and a civic pod and this pod. They had to go down to Boca Raton to look for items that would go from 1% to 2%, because that's one of the items of the 3 here today for the pod of civic and whatever. Because how much is enough, Commissioners? Southern Boulevard, right there is a giant power plant, a rock mining operation that has blasting permit until 2035. That's how long the permit is for the blasting every day out at Palm Beach Aggregates. There's a lot going on out there, but the one thing is a lot of big trucks. And trucks have been your nightmare lately, I know that. But these are giant trucks going in and out. This has got an exit where if you got 530 and you say there's 10 trips a day for each house, that's how they count them. Workforce housing is different than regular housing, and they'll have less trips or something, but it's a lot of trips out onto Southern Boulevard, and there is no crossing over. It's going to be really dangerous as far as traffic goes, Commissioners, and that Hail Mary for Okeechobee to go through, that's another Hail Mary. So I don't know how people are going to get in and out of traffic. Traffic is a big item in our county right now because we don't know how we're getting from point A to point B, and I, since October 11th, haven't been able to get level of service. I've asked. I'm working on it. I'm trying to get all the answers, and I do. I try to have an answer before I even walk up here to you, because I don't have an answer for the traffic for anybody. But this is bad. This is a bad idea. Leonard and Fleming, they were sod farms. That's what they were. And now they're going to be a big development with 534 units of development that have to get out of there. And I don't know if they're going to go through the Sluggett property. I don't know if they're going to go out on Southern, or they'll go out on the Magic Hail Mary Road that isn't there yet. And they will come back to you and change the terms of this order today.
So much, Ms. Weiss. Appreciate it.
Item number 7, Alex Larson.
Well, no, okay.
Are you doing them separately or not?
We're doing them all together.
Oh, and they get a rebuttal. I want a rebuttal. Okay, I'll write some questions for you. I guess you want me to write them down, don't you? On a piece of paper and hand them in?
Ma'am, your
Yes,
time
rebuttal
is, your time.
rebuttal requires written.
Okay, I just didn't know what the rules are.
Your time has started, Ms.
All right, sorry, that's fine. Number 7, it's the commercial pod. It's so funny, Arterial and Collector Road didn't even exist until 2004, Commissioners. It was created here in this room, the Collector and Arterial roads and how it was going to work. That's part of the history here. And we are going from 1% to 2% because 1% just isn't enough on how much we can build in a little commercial area in some place, because it's been 1% forever. Now it's going to 2% on this vote. We got to double it. And you had to go down to Boca Raton to justify it when it was here before you. So here we are, once again, it's more and more and more, but I'm worried about the future. You did talk about the kids, that was very nice, childcare and everything, because I don't think it's good to put a giant housing unit on Southern Boulevard. It's a highway. It's a bad highway. It's a dangerous highway. I've had several friends die at Seminole Pratt and Southern Boulevard. It is a bad intersection because they all run the lights. They don't pay attention. They'll keep going. It turns yellow, we're going to go faster. And this is how our mindset is. And we're on cell phones on top of that. But this is another one. We're changing it from 1% to 2%. Why? Who are we accommodating? I want to know who we are accommodating for this particular item, that we're going from 1% to 2%, because it certainly isn't for your constituents. It's for a applicant, a developer, somebody. So, and I always do, I talk about somebody and nobody in the world, and this is another one that doesn't need to be done. It doesn't need to go to 2% to accommodate anyone. Please take that into consideration.
Thank you so much, Ms. Larson. And we have another card.
On item number 8, Alexandria Larson. Ms. Larson,
You're recognized.
you're on. You submitted a card on item number 8.
No, I know I did. You're doing this out of, I don't know what. It's usually they're separate, commissioners. It's a new day in Palm Beach County. We're going to do it all together. And then they get to rebut. But this is another one. This is the same item. It's the 446 acres. This is Fleming, I guess, because there's Leonard and Fleming. There's two of them right next to each other. So I'm sure they'll come in for their application. But this is another thing that we're changing for a developer. And we're putting people in harm's way. In 3.3 in your charter, it says health, safety, and welfare, commissioners. That's the only thing about us in our whole charter. 3.3. And that's where you come in, because we do need to look out for the health, safety, and welfare of everybody, because I don't want to anticipate any more accidents. We got some whoppers out there on Southern Boulevard, and this will be a result of more accidents. That's my humble opinion and observation for 30 years of living out there and seeing what's happened. And here we are, we're changing something again for a developer. So please take that into consideration. I don't think, if they're zoned 1 and 10, let them stay that way. At least it's less traffic jumping out on Southern Boulevard, commissioners, and commercial elements and all this other stuff that don't belong in a rural tier. When the comp plan was created, those tiers were created for a certain reason, to let people have their way of life and not bother anybody else. That's the way it was set up, commissioners, and that's not what's happening today. We're supposed to capitulate or compromise. We can't compromise our way out of what's going on in our county with flooding and the roads and potholes, and we can't keep up, and our budget's going really high. It's huge, and we still can't fix what we got. So please take that into consideration, because the one thing that I find saddest in this world is the passing of the buck. It's not the county's fault, it's the state's fault. It's Washington's fault. It's all our faults, because we're not paying attention. So please take that into consideration.
Thank you so much. We have no other cards at this time, so I'm looking for a motion to adopt the ordinance approving item number 6. And I see Commissioner Baxter with the first, and I see a second with Commissioner Bernard. All those for, anybody opposed? See that the passes unanimously. Commissioner Weiss.
Yeah, just before, I just want to put on the record, just for staff, if you can answer the question. What's your status on these items? Have you submitted approval or supported approval of these items, I should say?
Yes, on the planning item, the recommendation is?
Yeah, the planning recommendation is for approval, and there's just 2 conditions proposed to be deleted. But yes, everything that we discussed at the transmittal is still true, and we've addressed all the state agency comments. We think you should adopt it.
Thank you.
And the ULDC amendment, staff is recommending approval. We're in full support of this concept. And the final item, the zoning application, we're also recommending approval. It meets all of the standards established in the ULDC.
Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Baxter, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to I will make the motion after we vote to approve item number 7.
Okay. Does anybody need a 1-minute Reader's Digest from, okay, very good. Commissioner Baxter has put the first on, and we've already had, for the record, we've had the card from the public read, and I have a second from the Vice Mayor to approve staff recommendation for item number 7. All those for, anybody opposed? I see my lawyer wants to talk.
Yeah,
Go
just
right
a
ahead.
minor thing. The motion was changed on the add delete, so it should say motion to adopt an ordinance approving item 7.
Okay, very well said.
Can I say what he said? Motion.
Okay, very good.
Motion to adopt.
And I'm sure the Vice Mayor seconds that. All those for, anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously. Now we're moving on to item number 8. And we've already had disclosures on item number 8. For the record, does anybody in the board wish to hear Reader's Digest view from the applicant? Seeing no desire for that, we have, for the record, we have already read the public comment card for item number 8. And I'm looking for a first to adopt the resolution approving item number 8A. And I see that's coming from Commissioner Bernard, second by Commissioner Baxter. All those for, anybody
Mayor,
opposed? Yes.
briefly before we vote and move on, if I may have a moment to just address some of the things said, if you don't mind.
That relate to item number 8.
That relate to item number 8.
Very good, you're recognized.
There has been a history with this, and I did thank Ken and the builder. When I first came to office, this was one of the first things that I wasn't a fan of. It started out as over 900 units, this property. So I have been very thankful to the builder, and maybe it, or excuse me, the applicant, maybe it was a little rocky at first, but coming around and understanding that serving families, I thought was better than the initial intent. I was actually the one, I'll go on record saying, that said if this is on Southern Boulevard, businesses need a place to exist. So that is why this went from 1% to 2%, because I'm a firm believer in supporting a business that supports our economy, that allows us money to pay for other things in this county. So that was something I had asked for instead of over 900 residential units. Traffic counts obviously have been taken into account. Things have been done. I believe there may even be a light here for these residents. Mo, do you know?
An intersection light she's talking about.
We will have them post a surety for a traffic signal, and when it meets the warrants, it will be built at that time.
Thank you. And also, lastly, they have also, as recently as yesterday, I don't know if it was added into this, were agreeable in adding some, correct my terminology if I'm wrong, some stub outs for the firehouse that were going on that civic site, because we have some extended response times in that local area for fire rescue. So I did want to say thank you to the applicant for being very agreeable to that, so that it will save the taxpayers' dollars when it comes to time for us to build that firehouse. So again, I just want to say thank you and be the one, I guess the motion was already made. I will second it. Just thank you again.
Very good, thank you for those comments. All right, I think we'll take the final vote then. I think we already have. Well, let's do it again, just in case. All those for, anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously, 7-0. Thank you very much to the staff and to the applicants and to my colleagues as well. Moving on to the zoning applications at this time. We've already done number 9, so we're going to proceed now to number 10. And we have a staff recommendation on number 10.
Yes, and we'll have the applicant start with this application, CMFC Farm.
Very good. So you're recognized. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. Matthew Barnes, Senior Project Manager at WGI, here on behalf of the property owner and the applicant. Here with me also is Brian Seymour with partner Gunster, and Dr. Juan Ortega with our
Mr.
traffic
Seymour.
engineer at JFO Inc.
Very good.
Okay. So just to give you a brief orientation on where this project is. It is south of Lake Worth Road, east of Lyons, and west of the Turnpike. It's 10 acres. It is within the West Lake Worth Road neighborhood plan area, and we've reached out to the West Lake Worth Road Coalition several times, and they have no comments on the project. So the surrounding uses are predominantly single-family homes. They're a mix of, zero lot line homes and regular single-family homes. There's also some townhomes. What we're proposing is 33 zero lot line homes. So what's in front of you officially is a zoning map amendment from the RT district to the RS district. That's required because, it's required for zero lot line homes because zero lot line homes are not allowed in the RT zoning district. So you have to go to RS. And then when you go to RS, you need a Class A conditional use to do a zero lot line home in an RS district. There's a second Class A conditional use to allow a density bonus greater than 50%. The timeline on this is that in 2006, the subject property, again, 10 acres, was part of the surrounding, now it's called the Gulfstream Preserve PUD. It was approved in 2006 as part of that project, and then a year later there was a status of conditions report where the applicant at that time for the larger PUD didn't comply with certain conditions of approval, so the entire property, this property and the Gulfstream Preserve property, was rezoned back to RT out of a PUD. Then, between, as we all know, in 2007, real estate development wasn't going so great, so in 2012, the Gulfstream Preserve PUD came back, this time without these 10 acres included in it. Ultimately, in 2013, the PUD was approved for the Gulfstream Preserve, and I'll get into the details later, but there's a condition of approval in that 2013 resolution that requires access to this property through that property. As you saw on the aerial photograph, this property does not have frontage onto a public road. I mentioned we met with, those are all the dates we either emailed or talked on the phone to the West Lake Worth Road Coalition. And then we also did talk to the neighbors in the Gulfstream Preserve, culminating with a meeting that I had on site with their POA president and the on-site property manager. I probably don't have to tell you this, but this area has changed dramatically over the last 30 years. In 1995, you can see there's really nothing in this area at all. There's some single family to the west. You jump ahead 15 years, and there's still not much in the area between, east of Lyons, south of Lake Worth, and west of the Turnpike. And then you go forward to 2016, and that's when the Gulfstream Preserve PUD around this property is starting to get built. But even in 2016, there's still not a lot in that box, bounded by the Turnpike, Lake Worth, and Lyons. And then after 2016, almost the entire area has been filled in, and of course there was an item on today's agenda, another item that in the same area. This is one of the, it's not the last, I think it's one of two remaining sort of undeveloped properties in this area. Notably, we're not requesting a land use change. So it's LR2. We're proposing, again, 33 units on 10 acres. That's 3.3 units per acre. We're not increasing the land use, and what's around us actually is MR5 for the most part. The current zoning is almost exclusively PUDs around us, or MUPDs up on Lake Worth Road. We're proposing to go to RS, not a PUD. We would just do what's called straight subdivision. And then I mentioned before density. So again, we're 3.3 units per acre. That's actually less than what's immediately around us. The Gulfstream Preserve PUD actually is 3.8 units per acre, and DeLucia to our south is 4.1 units per acre. And then you have densities as high as 13.5 units per acre for those apartments that are next to the Turnpike. So what are we actually proposing? This is the preliminary subdivision plan. That's the layout. So there's two streets that are stubbed out to this property. On the west side, there is Willow Sound Drive, and on the east side, there is Sea Chase Drive. And our streets, sort of seamlessly connect to that and flow through the property and out to the other end. We are providing by code the 8-foot compatibility buffers where our lots abut the lots of the lots in the Gulfstream Preserve PUD, which, by the way, there's, because they were developed first, they have a 20-foot incompatibility buffer on their side of the property line because when they developed, this was, ag residential, so they needed an incompatibility buffer. So there'll be a 8-foot buffer on our side of the property next to their 20-foot buffer. And then where we abut the church to our west, we have a 15-foot wide type 2 incompatibility buffer. And on the south side, we have a 20-foot wide type 3 incompatibility buffer. Then we also have a buffer. So there is a wetland, an existing wetland it kind of straddles the property line between this property and what's on the Gulfstream Preserve that we are not touching. There's a conservation easement on it already. We're not proposing to touch it at all. We have the required buffer that the South Florida Water Management District requires around that wetland. And then we do have, per code, the required recreation area. And then, again, the conservation area, and then our own water management tract to handle the stormwater runoff from this particular 10-acre project. Notably, I mentioned there's incompatibility buffers in the adjacent property. That includes a 6-foot wall in that incompatibility buffer. So I mentioned before the access. So this is the condition of approval from that 2013 resolution, and it says that the property owner shall provide for alternative access to be utilized if access from 45th Street South is no longer available, which it's not. That was closed a while ago by Lake Worth Drainage District for the parcel control numbers, which are these 2 parcels. These alternative access shall accommodate at a minimum a single-family home or an equestrian use. So it's clearly this was mandated by that condition of approval, and then recently, a couple of years ago, we got a letter from the county engineer that basically states because there are stub outs to this property through that PUD, the engineering department finds these properties to have legal access per the ULDC. I'm not going to, of course, read everything on this slide. This is just a checklist of all the rezoning criteria. Just do want to point out one of the criteria is compatibility with surrounding uses. Well, we're proposing 0 lot line homes, and what's in Gulfstream Preserve is 0 lot line homes. It doesn't get more compatible than that. And then this is just another set of criteria for the Class A conditional use, very similar. Same thing for the density bonus. Your staff recommends approval of this. That concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time.
Very good. Thank you so much, sir. Have any questions? Any members of the board or any comments at this time? Seeing none. My question to the attorney is, can we do a vote including A, B, and C for item number 10, or is it required that we do them individually, sir? The way I read it, we could do one for A, B, and C.
You can do one.
Very good. Okay. Do I have first by Commissioner Barnett? Oh, wait.
Disclosures, and then if there's any public comment.
I'm sorry. Any disclosure? That's right, on 10. It's excellent. Commissioner Baxter?
Thank you, Mayor. So for item number 10, I have met with, no written to my knowledge, verbal. I have met with Matthew Barnes and Brian Seymour, Monty Berger, and I'll be getting back to you with one more name and no site visit.
Very good. Commissioner Barnett?
I'm the real MB. Madam Mayor, for item number 10, I've had verbal communications with Matthew Barnes and Brian Seymour. No correspondence and no site visit. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Very good. Commissioner Weiss?
Thank you, Mayor. On item number 10, I had verbal communications with Brian Seymour.
And Commissioner Woodward?
Thank you, Mayor. I had verbal communication with Matthew Barnes and Brian Seymour and email correspondence.
Very good. And Commissioner Barnett?
Thank you, Mayor. I've had verbal communications with Matthew Barnes, Brian Seymour, correspondence filed with the clerk, no site visit. Thank you.
Very good. Vice Mayor Marino.
Thank you. I met with Brian Seymour, and I received a copy of the access conditions. Thank you.
Good. From the mayor's office, verbal communications meetings with Matthew Barnes and Brian Seymour. We do have a card.
You have two.
We have one or two, Commissioner Weiss. We have two. All right, let's go ahead and read the cards now.
Alexandria Larson.
I'm sorry, this whole agenda made me laugh and cry last night, because here we are, we're building on 10 acres. They're allowed to build one unit, 1 per 10. That's what they were zoned. They were a farm at one time, and now we're building a whole bunch of units, and the exits go into residential streets. We're adding, there's a lot of density here, you know what I mean? Something that wasn't there before, and it will bother those people, I assure you. They'll be upset later on when there's all these cars coming in and out. They won't like it because there's no cars right now, maybe one from the property. And here we are, we got 2 different exits, and it goes into residential areas. How much is enough, commissioners? Why do we keep doing this? Because that conservation area, that worries me. The water retention area worries me because there's runoff. There's all kinds of stuff. There's consequences to everything that we do, commissioners. There is a consequence for our actions. And we should really step back and look at some of our actions recently, because we've gone out of our minds. We've decided it doesn't matter if you put 220 new trips in front of somebody's house. If you live there, you wouldn't want the 220 trips. And I'm being facetious about the number. I'm just making one up out of my head. The amount of cars that will come by, AM, PM, whatever M, because it does affect everybody. And the funny thing about our county, when I talk to people, they want a Costco, they want a Walmart, they want everything, but they don't want it next to their house. It's okay if you put it over here. Go after these people. They want the Walmart, but let's put it in there. But the traffic is a big problem right now. We really do. And it shouldn't be that that the other people that move in are telling the old people, well, you have us now, you must accept us. It's the terrible way to treat your neighbor, but it's how we act in our county. And we just keep building and building and building. Hopefully this won't get built for 20 years. They'll put it off and change the zoning and want a new thing on their application and remove a road and a turn lane. But I think you should go out and do site plans. I think you should go out in a bus every time you're going to do a zoning commission meeting. You go out on the bus and go look at the neighborhood and look what's going on. Because it is much more better when it's visual, commissioners. A visual really does help us because we're visual creatures. So go out on a little tour together and go look at what you are putting into someone's world that wasn't there before. Because I do. I'm an idiot. I give a crap about other people. Generally, we don't. It's like, just put it over there. But do think about the traffic situations, because they're getting worse and worse every day, commissioners, especially when I can't even get level of service since October 11th. I'm not making that up.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. We have another card, please.
Monty Berger.
Good morning, sir. You're recognized.
Good morning. I'm Monty Berger. I am the president of the Gulf Stream Preserve HOA, and I represent 211 homeowners that surrounds the land that you're considering rezoning at this time. We appreciate the time spent discussing this issue with Commissioner Baxter earlier this week. We realize that this first step in this process and that the project will be back in front of you all in the future. Our purpose here today is to let the Commission know that we're looking for your help in making sure that our new neighbors will be good neighbors as they develop the land, and in turn, Gulf Stream Preserve will look to work with them in a positive way throughout the process. Thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Baxter, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple statements, couple comments. Couple questions to staff. Was it a condition of approval for the other houses around this neighborhood that they allow access to their neighborhood when this was being approved prior to me?
Yes, and it was put on the site plan for the surrounding development.
So it was always intended for that use. So it's not anything new that we're approving, and we're not even, are we increasing density by even 1 unit on this?
Well, this does have a proposal for a density bonus for 4 units, I believe. No, I'm sorry,
It's
13
actually
units?
13 units by the workforce housing program. They're taking a density bonus through the program.
But it's not something we can say no to because that is built into our ordinances, our ULDC.
It's in the code, but it still comes to you for part of the overall approval.
Yeah, but it's a quasi-judicial, and it meets
So
the
if they meet the
standards.
standards, yeah.
Versus a land use amendment, like your next Wednesday meeting, all of the items on that agenda have a different standard of approval and have much more flexibility for the board.
And thank you for that. And lastly, I had a question for Mr. Seymour. We have some outstanding questions that I had asked that I never received answers to. Have we received any resolution or comments or conversations regarding the roads to get in and out of for construction?
So we did, we spoke with the church. We had spoken previously, not me, we, but we, the global we, like the royal we. For the record, by the way, Brian Seymour Gunster on behalf of the applicant. We had spoken to the church. We also spoke to the Lake Worth Drainage District about alternative access. Both said hard no. We do agree, and it's in the staff report, that if there was any damage to the roadways from the construction traffic within Gulfstream, we will take care of that. That will be required. Yesterday, I had a conversation with the litigation attorney for the POA, who's the only attorney they have. I can't speak because, just so everybody's aware, just because they have a lawyer, I can't talk to the POA directly. So we did speak with him this morning at about 7:20. He sent me a list of things. Some of those can relate to access, and we're trying to work through an easement formal document with them. And included in that could be something along the lines of the construction maintenance, cost sharing, things of those natures that we're happy to work through that are pretty typical in an easement document.
And I mean, that's where, so thank you for reaching out. Thank you for having those conversations. Did you need to? Okay. So unless we have any more comments, I'll make the motion to approve.
One second,
Item number 10.
we have,
And technically, this is the point in the item where the applicant can offer rebuttal, but unless Brian needs to, we're good.
okay, very good. And did you say that you wanted to first, you wanted to make the motion?
Yes.
Very good, okay. So we have a first by Commissioner Baxter, a second by Commissioner Bernard. Wait, just 1 second.
Just want to make sure this is to approve, adopt a resolution approving A, B, and C?
Correct.
Okay.
I think I announced at the beginning. All those for, anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously. And for the record, that is 10, A, B, and C. Okay? Very good. Thank you very much. Now, we're moving on to D, ULDC revisions, number 11.
So this is a privately proposed revision to the Unified Land Development Code, and the applicant is here to give an overview on what they're proposing. This is Phase 1. If the board votes to initiate, then it would move on to Phase 2, but we will have the applicant give a presentation and then staff.
All right, very good, sir. State your name.
Yes,
You're
good morning. For the record, George Gentile with 2GHO Inc., representing the project. As Lisa indicated, this is a privately proposed revision. We're in our first phase, so there's other phases that will be, second phase will be coming back to you. This is just to initiate the ask. So we're asking the Board of County Commissioners to establish a Type 2 waiver process in the ULDC, allowing modifications to the minimum property regulations. We need to come to you first for this to just initiate it, and then we'll bring you back all of the information with staff reviews and everything on it. So the background, as we know, the governor signed the condominium safety bill, which was Senate Bill 4D, and that is now requiring by the end of 2024 all of the condominiums that are in the coastal area to have a very heavy structural inspection, as well as the potential of increase in reserves for the condominium associations. We've seen 3 condominium buildings, two of them already tore down, one getting ready to, because of this issue in the north end of the county. This is going to be for those coastal projects that are on the coast. Again, the Surfside condominium collapse was it. We've had a lot of code changes. We've had the CCCL, the Coastal Construction Control Line, move 27 years ago. Most of these facilities are in the 40 to 50-year-old range. And so we're trying to be proactive to help these residents deal with it. The Type 2 waiver will be an option, only an option for the condominium buildings and multifamily buildings on the Atlantic Ocean in our county to come in and show the ability to build again and be resilient, and they may need development regulations, which I'm going to show you a little bit of an example right now. This is the north end of the county. These are the lots that are in the unincorporated area, and you can see that in 1979, the Coastal Construction Control Line, which is yellow, is actually oceanward of most of the buildings in that area. And then if you look at the change in the CCCL line, which was done in 1997, you'll see that almost all of those buildings are now eastward or ocean side of the CCCL line, which is going to be difficult when they get into redevelopment or reconstruction or whatever, to go through a tremendous amount of documentation and or possible issues with redevelopment of even the current units that are there. There's, of course, this is the Beach Sound one, which we're representing on this particular application. You can see it is actually the smallest lot in that whole area, and you can see the impact that the CCCL line is taking on that particular project as well. We've provided you with conceptual language change to the waiver section. And your staff has been working diligently with us, and they've been great on it. And we will be also working with your resiliency department. The Zoning Commission took action. They voted unanimously to recommend that we initiate or have you all hopefully review and initiate phase 2. And that's all I have to present. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, sir. Vice Mayor Marino, this is your section. Go right ahead.
Yeah, this is actually the northernmost end of our county, and as Mr. Gentile said, there are two other buildings that have already come down in this area. I had the privilege of speaking last week on resilient and sustainable infrastructure, and this was one of the major topics, was what's going to happen with all of the older buildings that are along the coastline. And we really do need to figure out a way, because they are going to be coming down. I mean, with the fact that HOAs have put off maintenance, and now they're getting a bill that they can't afford. So it is going to happen that these buildings are going to turn over, and we need to be able to build a resilient and sustainable new building. And the waiver process, because you all came to me earlier and the waiver process was not on the table, and we said, no, that's not going to work. So thank you for working with my office and with staff to accommodate and come up with something that I think can be doable. And then in its place will be a very green and sustainable building, whichever nature you decide to take with it. I don't know if anybody wants any further. I see staff has come to the table here, and
yeah, I have a short presentation
just one
if
second,
you'd like.
just one second. Are you finished, Vice
but
Mayor?
I would ask the rest of the commission's approval on this. I think it's a very good first step.
Very good, thank you. Are there any other comments or questions now by any members of the board? Okay, staff, we're ready to proceed with your presentation.
Yes, this is Jerome Audi, who is one of our newest principal planners, and he's going to make a very, very short presentation, and he will be here next Wednesday because he is our kind of our lead ULDC revision principal planner, and then also works closely with the planning division on any text amendment to the plan that will end up in ULDC regs.
Excellent.
Yes,
you're
Jerome Otti
recognized.
with the zoning division. Very short presentation. This is PPR. Can you go to the first slide? So this is PPR 2024-290, and this is just to establish a Type 2 waiver process to allow the redevelopment of these multifamily developments along the coastal properties in unincorporated Palm Beach County. As you can see on the slide, there are these 7 properties, and really these 7 are the only ones in unincorporated that may be able to take advantage of this Type 2 waiver process. Just some quick words on the process itself, which is the privately proposed revision. This is phase 1 to initiate phase 2. We have preliminary information in the backup for staff report, and then phase 2 we'll do additional, much more in-depth analysis and research and come back for approval. Next slide. The Zoning Commission, they recommended approval by a vote of 7-0, and staff recommends approval of the request.
Very good. Do we have any questions for Mr. Otto? I do.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Is this your first presentation?
No, this is not my first.
Oh, okay. We're talking about county land.
Yes.
Would this also apply to cities as well?
No, just unincorporated.
Just unincorporated?
Right.
And my question is, what happens when there is a condominium that is situated in a city or a
Well,
municipality?
I believe they would have to come up with their own regulations. Maybe we'll start something new. You know, if we allow this Type 2 waiver process, they'll probably copy what we have. And I think Tequesta, they currently have some regulations that allow redevelopment right now.
And I wonder if there's a conversation now between county planners on this, and I see Mr. Gentile, you've come back, because I'm interested, you know, if we make these changes, and I think it's a wonderful thing, on county land, what do the municipalities, what do they have to say about this?
So, yeah, I'm just going to quickly.
Yeah.
So I can let George talk from a planning perspective, but from a pure legal perspective, the hope is the municipalities will look at this. Again, for the record, Brian Seymour, Gunster on behalf of the applicant. That the municipalities will look at this and say, hey, this is a great idea. This is a way to incentivize things that will work, that will actually allow folks flexibility. There's no requirements, just options, and can follow suit where the county is taking a lead on this. No forcing, no issues that can be required. I can tell you the Village of Tequesta has done something not quite similar. They put in really complicated, weird guidelines that are, frankly, for even a little bit hard to follow when I read them.
The lawyers, probably.
Well, between the lawyers and the planners, we do get some fun language. But, you know, as you get along the coast, the municipalities looking at this can say, hey, this is a very simple way to really allow things to move forward and provide flexibility, and it required really the engagement of the community, the local government, and the owners and developers of those properties. So it's a great option that hopefully they'll follow with.
I hope so. Sounds very good. Thank you so much, Mr. Otti. Vice Mayor Marino, you're recognized.
I was just going to say that Tequesta they have their own set of rules and regulations, and actually we have spoken with them. But, you know, home rule is that we set our own rules and the municipality set their own rules. We can only hope that as a community, we can all work together. But again, I would like to make the motion to approve staff recommendation for item 11.
And do we have a second by Commissioner Baxter? And we have a card. Look at that. We have a card. Go ahead, Commissioner Weiss.
Alexandria Larson, item number 11.
So we haven't voted yet. Go right ahead, Ms. Larson.
It's really funny when they showed that picture up there, there's 7 plots that are up there. That's a barrier island when you look at it. It's kind of a buffer. Should be a buffer. That's what these things should be. I think people need to know, the planners that come into you with the applicants, they're landscape architects, which is odd because landscaping has nothing to do with how the building is built. And these buildings that are older than 20 years old need to be all torn down. That's the new mantra. Let's tear it down, we'll build another one. But are we going to build it better? Because all those buildings that were there had certificates of occupancy. They were coded, a code guy came out and said, this building is up to snuff and it's going to live. And it didn't. And some people paid for that. it got knocked with a wrecking ball because they were building something next door. There's always circumstances, cause and effect, because I always talk about cause and effect. If you knock something with a wrecking ball, it is going to fall down. It's just that maybe not tomorrow, but a couple days out. And that's what I'm worried about. Why do we keep okaying this stuff? We've got global warming, whether you believe it or not, because there's two sides of the fence on global warming and big waves. And I think if we get a Cat 6, because people are asking for a Category 6 in the hurricane realm today, the building that's 28 stories over there across the street will be in Loxahatchee when the big storm comes, because I lived through Andrew and saw how far the buildings blew away south of Southwest 88th Street in Miami-Dade County, because Andrew was an anomaly also. Biggest story ever, and it just came barreling through and it just tore everything down. And that will happen again. History repeats itself in our world. So how resilient can we make these buildings? Are we going to put glass in front of them? Are we going to put windmills out into the ocean? We keep doing this stuff, and is it going to survive, and will it blow into the land or inward? Right here, right down the block, the elevation's 8 feet in West Palm Beach. At a Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council meeting in '04, the guys said, Palm Beach will stay there, but West Palm will be gone. You can go back and look up the meeting in '04 when they said that, because I thought, well, if Palm Beach is going to be there, of course West Palm will stay, logically. But no, West Palm will be gone, but Palm Beach will live through a big storm. So these condos and all the things that we're building, please take it into consideration that I don't think a building should only last 20 years. And if they do, we're in a lot of trouble. We need to be really looking at our building codes then also, because all the things that get hurt or fell down had a certificate of occupancy, was inspected by someone, and was done. And they said it was okay. So that's where, let's start at the beginning of where it's not okay. That's all. Start looking at that. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. All right, we're going to take the vote now. All those for, as I stated before. Anybody against? See that it passes unanimously, 7-0. Thank you very much, Mr. Seymour, Mr. Gentile. This time, I'd like to take personal privilege and recognize a former president of the Senate and Attorney General, Jeff Atwater. Good to see you, sir. Thank you for visiting us today. Thank you. Okay, we are ready for comments, and our county attorney has worked very hard today. Do you have anything you want to say, sir?
No, nothing to say.
Good, thank you. And our planning director.
Well,
We actually have our new planning director here with us. If she'd like to introduce herself, Ms. Tweeshut.
Nice to meet you. Very good. Thank you. And our zoning director.
Yes, thank you for being with us this morning. We are looking like June. BCC zoning is not going to have any zoning applications, so we are going to try to bring before you some ULDC revisions. We're going to prioritize the small but very critical items like generator heights, apparently is a real big deal. That over the years, generators have gotten like 2 inches taller, the permanent generators you install. And, some kind of housekeeping items that are creating kind of hiccups for a lot of the applications that you don't see. But we are working on that. We're going to work with the building division, and we're going to work with our agents. And if there's some things that we can come up with that we could expedite in June, we're going to try to have a bundle of ULDC changes before you. And that's it.
Very good. Thank you so much, Ms. Samara. And thank you to your staff. Work so diligently, and also to you, Kevin. All right, the Executive Director, Mr. Rudder, you are recognized, sir.
No comment.
All right, the Deputy County Administrator. Sorry. You get it.
I just wanted to publicly welcome Twee as our planning director, and just we're excited to have her. I think all of you know Twee, and we introduced her to you. So,
I don't. I'd love to have you come by the office so I can get to know you better. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, commissioners, and we're going to start with my left. From my left, Commissioner Barnett.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I also want to extend my congratulations to Twee. It was nice meeting you in person at Vista yesterday. We had a really nice ceremony in my district. We cut the ribbon on 3 new workforce housing units in West Lake Worth. Thank you to our mayor and Commissioner Bernard for being there as well. It was wonderful seeing the insides of the homes, the design, very spacious, brand new, affordable housing, I think workforce housing units for folks living at 100% of AMI. Those are 3 families out of how many thousands of families, many of whom work for this county, who work for law enforcement, who are first responders, who also need affordable places to work, to live in our county. I'm glad we were able to approve some projects to help put a little bit of a dent in that housing crisis, and it is a crisis when you have 5,000 homeless people, homeless families in Palm Beach County. I think you can definitely call it a crisis. We have an important vote coming up next week where we're going to be considering a project that will add additional workforce housing units that are badly needed, not just for county employees, but for residents, doctor residents, students. And I think with the need that exists today and will exist, not just after I'm gone, if I get another term, but for the foreseeable future and the long-distance future, I think today was a good step. The work we've done so far was a very good step, but we need to continue making housing a priority if we're going to ever have any hope of putting our finger in the dike and stopping the flood. We need to make sure it's a priority for this board, all 7 of us on this board, to start building those units and building them now as quickly as possible. That's all I have. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. I have several items real quick. First, I would like to request an off-site certificate of recognition for District 4 resident Mary Gilbert for her 100th birthday this Saturday.
Wonderful. Yes. Those 4, anybody opposed? You better watch out if you would. See that it passes unanimously, and happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Second, we have a Get on the Bus challenge. I know several of you have already done this. We have one. I'll be joining with Michelle Jacobs with the Economic Council and Deputy Mayor Drucker in Boca Raton will be going this Friday afternoon at 2 p.m., starting at the Boca Tri-Rail Station and going to the FAU campus. So if anyone would like to join or anyone watching. Oh, you went to the beach. Well, I'm planning a second one, hopefully in May, to do from the mall to Meisner Park. So
that's good.
Date to be determined on that one. Third, I would like to give staff direction to meet with the city of Boynton Beach in regards to their annexation plan. I've received some correspondence and conversations with constituents, and I don't know enough to tell them, so I'd like for staff, if you could, meet with them and give us a presentation at the earliest convenience, because it is happening and people want to know. And lastly, I received a letter yesterday. I need to read into the record. I have copies for everyone. Oh, did everyone get it? Yeah, we did. Okay, well, I'm just going to read it into the record, if that's permissible.
You can go ahead. Sure. I don't see any reason why
Okay.
not. And then you'll file it with the
Yes,
clerk.
and do receive and file. Thank you. So this comes from the representative of Ms. Milani. This office represents I think it's Lucia Milani, and I'm writing to you regarding her concerns related to the establishment of Milani Park in Highland Beach, Florida. Mrs. Milani wanted to make it very clear that it is her desire that the Milani Park actually be established, and that it be established as a public park and not a disguised private beach, which would benefit only a few. From the very start, almost 40 years ago, and ratified in the 2010 settlement agreement, it was clear that this park, once established, would be designed in such a fashion to ensure that it would be available to many residents of Palm Beach County, and named after her late husband, Cam D. Milani. One of the many conditions of the settlement agreement was establishing 120 parking spaces in the park, which was substantially reduced from over 300 parking spaces as envisioned for the park when it was purchased in 1987. It is understood that the town of Highland Beach has been lobbying the Palm Beach County to have the county provide dramatically fewer parking spaces, or in the alternative, that the land should not be a park at all and should be sold instead. In either instance, it would either limit the amount of people who can enjoy one of the few remaining public parks which are on the beach, essentially making it a private beach, or would completely deny the residents of any park, which would discriminate against so many potential residents of the county. Both of these scenarios are completely contrary to the purpose for which the park was acquired by the county, and could possibly violate the bond covenants and conditions set forth in the referendum to purchase the land in the first place. Mrs. Milani is urging that the county decide in favor of the provisions set forth in the settlement agreement, which would allow the greatest use of the park by the public, and to not agree with the town of Highland Beach that the use of this park should be severely limited by creating only a few parking places. To accept the town of Highland Beach's dramatically reduced parking plans, or to sell the land, would be completely contrary to the purpose of the park, the voter resolution, which raised the funds to purchase the park by the county, and is completely contrary to the express wishes of the Milani family, whose purpose was to create a true public park to be enjoyed by the residents living in southern Palm Beach County. Even though the deed from the Milani family to the county provides for a right of first refusal to the Milani family if the land is sold by the county, at this time, the Milani family really prefers that the land be a park as per the settlement agreement reached in 2010. Thank you very much for your time and consideration. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to call. This is written by Tom Carney, the representative for Mrs. Milani. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things. One, I'd like to request an off-site proclamation declaring that April 30th, National Letter Carrier Day.
Do we have a second for the mailman? Do. All those for, you better not oppose.
Yeah, you don't want to.
That's his right, or you won't get your mail.
You won't get those packages.
That's
You know,
right,
so-
that's right. See that it, for the clerk, see it passes unanimously.
All right.
Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Also want to remind residents that on this coming Saturday, the 27th, at the Palm Beach County Convention Center, we are meeting at 9:30 in the morning to discuss 429 Park Place. Announcements went out. We put it up on Facebook, but I just wanted to use this opportunity to remind folks once again. If you have any comments or questions or ideas, please come to the meeting, or you can email or call District 2 office. And then secondarily, or third, I guess now, is we have several affordable housing projects in the pipeline that are now struggling to meet the parking requirements. Our parking regulations in Palm Beach County, unincorporated, are 1.75 spaces per unit and 20.25 per guest parking, irrespective of the location, the number of bedrooms, the age of those residing, or income. Other places, including our own Westgate CRA, have different requirements that do take into consideration these factors. So under our current regulations, the only option to reduce parking is a 15% reduction, and that can be approved by staff. Anything more than that would require a variance that is granted by the county commission or granted by the zoning commission. However, variances such as these cannot be granted in the case of self-created hardship, meaning, for all practical purposes, they're impossible to obtain. The reasoning here is the applicant could reduce the density to meet the parking regulations, but by reducing the density, these much-needed units will not be built, and it can jeopardize the economic viability of the projects. So I have two of these projects in my district that are stuck because of this. They're good projects that would create affordable housing for all the units are for people no greater than 80% of the AMI, but many of the units would be available for people 30% of AMI, We need these units, as Commissioner Barnett pointed out. If we don't do this, if we don't make any changes, these projects are going to die. So it's with great urgency that I ask my colleagues to support me in giving board direction to initiate a ULDC amendment for reduced parking, flex regulations, such as a waiver process. That's my request.
Excellent, excellent idea. And I'm sure we have a second. Is that Vice Mayor Marino? Oh, you have a question. Go right ahead.
I would only say that if we're going to reduce parking, folks still have cars. So if we're going to reduce parking, we need to reduce parking where there is Tri-Rail or Palm-Tran, where it's on a transit route, because for us to do what we need to do for the county, and we add density has to be in a transit-oriented development. It has to be where there's access, so people don't have to have a car. I mean, between my car payment and my insurance and all that kind of stuff, I could probably have Uber take me everywhere I wanted to go. But, other people may not have that luxury. And I believe that any development that we add density to has to be, again, I will reiterate, has to be on some sort of transit line. And going forward, if we're going to look at reducing parking, that would have to be a requirement.
And I appreciate, thank you. I appreciate that, and very good point. And I'm pleased to tell you that both of these projects are in transit lines.
Excellent. Well, takes care of that. Commissioner Baxter, recognized.
I was just going to say, I agree with the Vice Mayor. It does need to be someplace near, if we're going to allow less parking near a transit-oriented facility. I think that just makes sense for everyone. So I do support that as well. I've voiced my concerns about infrastructure in general, and parking, I guess, goes along with these high-density places, and I think we even briefly had a discussion about it, but I'll wait until my comments to go further. So yes, as long as it's near someplace that does have other forms of transportation, I support it.
Thank you, Commissioner Baxter. Any other questions or comments? I have one. Many of our bus lines stop at the border of my district. In other words, they go about as far west as Lyons Road, and I think we only have one that goes to 441, and that's along Atlantic Avenue. So with this review, which I think is an excellent idea, especially in light of the need for affordable housing, let's bring into the conversation bus lines. And along with this change, we may need to expand our bus lines to accommodate that need for density in the western portions of the county. So I believe we have a second to this already. All those for, anybody opposed, see that it passes unanimously. And do we have a date, Commissioner Weiss? Would you to have this?
I'd leave that to staff to be able to determine when they can bring it
We
back.
could probably bring something back in the June with permission to advertise, because we would probably approach it very similar to the waiver for coastal resiliency, that each project would have to come in and they would have to do a parking demand analysis, and they would have to make their case on a case-by-case basis. So we would probably model it after that
Excellent. Very
other
good.
item.
And this would be the whole county as well, unincorporated, as well as just
Well,
that, because this would.
Only
Only
unincorporated.
unincorporated, okay. And of course, it would incorporate issues of public transportation. Excellent, 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 excellent.
Mayor, may I
Thank
be
you.
recognized?
Yes, sir.
Who was the second?
The second was, no, I think you were the, okay. Second was Vice Mayor Marino. Okay. Commissioner Bernard, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Just want to welcome Tui as the planning director. It seems like everywhere that I've been, you're there. So really glad that you're here, even though I'm leaving, so you only get a chance to see me for a little bit. So congratulations. In regards to the parking issue, I do support Commissioner Weiss on this issue. I believe a couple months ago, I think Mr. Rudder and we had a conversation regarding an affordable development, and they were having some issues in regards to meeting the parking restrictions, and I believe there's like a bus line right there, and so this would allow us to, with the flexibility, to create the affordable housing, and so I think this is really good for us to have that flexibility. In regards to Milani Park, do we have a timeline in regards to when is this issue coming in front of us?
I don't recall off the top of my head. We can get you that information now.
Okay. I read this letter yesterday, and I did speak to Mayor Tom Carney yesterday when I received it. So I'm just really glad that, to get the opinion of the Milanis, because then, as they're the ones who had sold the land to the county, and they have the right of first refusal, and seeing that they want us to proceed with the 2010 settlement agreement, I think that, I believe that if we make any changes to any of the site plan, then we will have to start all over. And then now it's just going to be negotiations and everything. So, I do support, if we're going to build this park, that we stick with the site plan as approved in 2010. This was an issue in 1987. I didn't even speak English at that time, so.
Born.
I was born, so, but I didn't speak any English, so. But, it's been too long, and seeing that they want us to proceed as is, I think that's a good thing for us to move forward. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Baxter, you recognize.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple things. Welcome, Tui. It's great having you around. I need to amend my disclosure for item number 10. I needed to add the name Howard Rosenkrantz, and also we will be submitting emails for the record to the clerk. Also, I'd like to remind everyone that this Sunday is the Sweet Corn Fiesta.
Oh, yes.
So I hope to see you there. It'll be at the fairgrounds. I believe it starts around 10 a.m. Some of the best corn you've ever had, so I suggest everyone come try it. Lots of fun things for the family as well. Lastly, I do support what we are doing with the parking, and also asked, it had come up that whenever these bonus densities occur, that they go straight to a quasi-judicial procedure. And I do believe there are certain areas, and we hear from residents where that may or may not be appropriate. So I wanted staff to give direction to staff, if with the support of my fellow without objection, that, bring something back to us that maybe could give us a little more flexibility of skipping over the whole process and going straight to like quasi-judicial, because my concerns more so are the infrastructure of everything going on around us, and the failing roads, and the people being trapped. So I want to be able for us, the board, to take an overall look at the entire picture before just skipping ahead to that. So I don't know if you need more clarification, or I'd like to hear what the board has to say, but that's the direction I would like to give.
Yeah, I think there's a workshop planned upcoming on density bonus programs. Is that correct, Whitney?
Yes. In June, the June workshop, we're bringing back items on workshop or on workforce housing, and we actually will be discussing those types of things as well.
Ms. Carroll, maybe you could speak with Commissioner Baxter after today's proceedings, and if there's something in particular you'd like to have them cover, Commissioner Baxter, then we'll have that discussion. I'm sure Ms. Carroll will take care of it.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank Vice Mayor Marino. Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner, are you done? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Staff, good job today. Twee, welcome to the county. Look forward to a continued discussion with you. As I said in my comments earlier, I actually had the opportunity to speak on Friday at FAU for their Center for Urban and Environmental Solutions, and resiliency is something that is a big, big topic going forward, sustainable infrastructure. So if we're going to get lower parking requirements, again, it is important to put it on transportation hubs, because we can't have builders building and then come to the county and say, oh, by the way, you have an empty parking structure, so we want to use your parking structure. Well, no, you should have taken that into consideration. It's not for us to do that. That's my caveat going forward, because I know there's builders out there that believe that the county can supply them with parking that they don't want to supply themselves, and that's not something I would ever support. We have requirements. If we're going to adjust this, it needs to be, again, on transit-oriented development or transit lines. And with that, I'm going to say I'm getting hungry, so have a great day.
Thank you. Mr. Rutter.
Thank you, Mayor. Just following up on Milani, unfortunately, it's me and Jennifer are watching, so quick answers. Proceeding with the development order for the park as is. What you will see in the near future, architectural and engineering contract for a contractor at some point this summer, and then the construction manager at risk probably into early in the fall. So you will see items, but as it pertains to the development concept, we are proceeding as approved.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Rutter. And from the mayor, I just was very pleased to join Commissioner Barnett and Commissioner Bernard at the Lake Worth Beach beautiful celebration of cottage homes. But the best part was to see the families moving in. I mean, to see a mom and their children walk into a new home was just so heartfelt. We do a lot of things here. We make a lot of decisions. We vote on items left and right, but rarely do we actually see them in person. And to see the face of the little girl looking at that new house was just something that was really heartfelt. So with that in mind, we need more affordable housing. And I like the discussion that we've had today with regard to transportation. And what Commissioner Weiss brought up about the parking. We need to pivot towards affordable housing in the cities and in the county. And whatever we can do moving forward, regardless of the new law, this is our commitment to the people of this county that everybody should have, not just shelter, not a tent, but a home, a real home. So I look forward to continuing that discussion. And with that, if there's nothing else before the board, we are adjourned. Thank you. So, Vice Mayor, you can eat. All right.